Hey, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Kitchen Conversations. He's only 16 years old. It seems like a lifetime ago. I'm sitting here talking today at 59. 16 just seems like, well, and it was, I guess, decades ago. Who am I kidding? Anyhow, this is a very fascinating young pickleball player. He is a Canadian pro, although he'll argue he's not a pro, and he'll explain exactly why he feels that way. But I want you to keep in mind his age as you listen to the maturity and the conversation that we had recently with Mackonner Dy here on Kitchen Conversations. Well, Mackonner Dy, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Kitchen Conversations. And let me start by thanking you for taking a little bit of time. I can only imagine what your schedule must look like at this point in your life. I mean, what a tremendous story you've got in the sport of pickleball. And I'm just excited to sit with you today and talk about that for a few minutes. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's quite a story. I mean, your name came to me kind of out of the blue, and then I started doing some research, and the more I looked, the more interested it became. And I just, I mean, at the age of 16, to be doing what you're doing in the sport of pickleball is just, it's beyond remarkable. So congratulations on all of that. I would, if you're okay, like to break today's chat down with you into kind of 3 different rallies. I've had some luck doing that, Mackonner, and I think rally number 1, I'd love to hear a bit about what you've done in sports beyond pickleball to kind of get you to where you are today. And then in rally 2, I'd like to talk about pickleball. How did you kind of evolve into that sport? Did it find you, or did you find it? Did you maybe specifically go looking for that? So I'll lead you into that conversation in a couple of minutes. And then rally 3, I mean, we're very interested in where you are and where you're heading, and kind of what do you see your future looking like in the sport of pickleball going forward. So that aside, can we start with having you give us a bit of background on your sports career? And I guess also, if you don't mind, where are you in life today with schooling, and what are you looking at as far as that? How does school and sport intersect today, and how seriously are you taking this opportunity to be a professional pickleball player? So why don't you start with a bit of your background in some of the sports that you've done?
So I was a jack of all trades. I played a multitude of sports when I was younger. I played a little bit of tennis. I'm not going to say I was very good at it, but I could hit the ball over the net. Played a little bit of table tennis with some friends. I played a little baseball before, obviously. I played hockey a little bit as well. But I think the biggest thing was I played a lot of basketball. As a Filipino Chinese, basketball was a big thing for me. I used to play it a lot. So that would be my main sports background.
Right.
Do I regret not having a tennis background? Maybe just a little bit. But, basketball was fun, and I think some of it translated. Yeah, which is good.
Yeah. It's interesting. I talked to a gentleman the other day who played a lot of high-level volleyball. He's a top-level coach here in Ontario, a gentleman named Cam Taylor, Tailored Pickleball. You may have heard of Cam's name at one point, but he was a big volleyball guy, and that's what my boys did. Mackonner, both boys played basketball and volleyball. But he was the first person to say to me that, there's this misconception about pickleball that if you don't come from a racket background, whether that be table tennis or badminton or tennis, that you might struggle a bit. But he said there are definitely some things that he brought into the game from volleyball, from the defensive side, as far as footwork goes and that sort of thing. And, I think about basketball, and I'm sure that there are things within that game that help you today. Would you agree?
I agree. I totally agree. I think my feet are a little bit faster because of basketball.
Right.
I think I work better as a team because of basketball. And I think that helps all around. Obviously, my skills aren't as good, but that's something you can learn over time. You can't learn other things, such as footwork or teamwork. That things takes, I feel like, your lifetime, or if not longer. Like, I'm still learning so many things.
Sure.
Right?
Well, part of the reason I want to draw you into that conversation, Mackonner, was, I think there's people listening to the podcast, I hope at least, that are thinking about trying the game of pickleball. And one of the questions I'd asked other podcast guests was, what do you think is something that holds people back, the fear, if you will, of getting into the game of pickleball? Because, for me, it's a game that's changed my life. And the goal of the podcast, quite frankly, is nothing more than to inspire one person per episode if we can to come out and try this game. And
Mhm.
I think the fear of saying, gee, I've never played table tennis. I'm not a badminton guy. I haven't done tennis. I'm not going to be any good at it. So I love when I meet someone like you. I love the chance to talk to Cam Taylor. And I love the fact that we're talking basketball, we're talking volleyball. And yet I think there are some transferable skill sets within almost any sport for you to come into the game. But I'd also go a step further. And I'd love your insight in this. But I think
Mhm.
pickleball and the growth and the popularity globally, Mackonner, of the game is rooted in the fact that two people who have no sports background can actually step onto a court with a couple of paddles and a ball. And let's be honest, 20, 30 minutes, I guess we could say they are technically playing pickleball. They may not be scoring, they may not be dinking, but they're hitting the ball back and forth across the net. And I think it's one of the greatest parts of this game.
I totally agree. And you mentioned like what what would people fear about having to come and play pickleball? There's absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing to fear. Sure, you might be not so good at it, but that's not what pickleball is about. It's not being always winning. It's not about always winning or losing. It's not about being good at it. It's about having fun. And I think at any level that is possible, right? Um, I mean, you could fear injury, I guess, but at the same time, almost every other sport is more dangerous. The most I've gotten injured was a ball to like my thigh. That's it, right there. And I'm playing a lot. I'm playing really, really intensely every day of the week, and still got some minor injuries here and there, but it's not like if you played recreationally, these won't happen, right? So even injury is not something I would greatly fear. So you have no reason not to play, and I would just encourage you to rent a few paddles, get on a court for a day, 1 hour, just try it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. We're not going to judge you for that. But I believe everybody has the the ability to play pickleball and at the same time have fun and like it.
Yeah, well, listen, you speak wise beyond your words, and I'm not the first guy to probably tell you that. You're a pretty inspirational young man. I just, the parent of two boys, I tell you, when I meet someone like you, it inspires me, and I just love what you just said there. And the funny thing is, we do fear what we don't know, and I think there's a sense of perhaps getting onto a pickleball court, maybe in a social play, going out to your local club, Mackonner, and embarrassing yourself. And I think you really have to get over that, because the other thing I would add, and I know you'll echo this, is that some of the nicest, most amazing people I've ever met in my life I've met through pickleball. And there's a social aspect to this game that I think you and I would have a hard time defining for someone that hasn't played. You and I could describe the game, it's a wiffle ball, it's a paddle, it goes to 11, the score is confusing. But beyond that, it's really difficult for me, at least, to articulate the social benefit of the game of pickleball. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's
It's
difficult. Yeah.
it's off the charts. Like
Hmm.
the amount of people you meet is just different. Like I don't know any other sport that does that. I mean, at least from my background, even basketball, yeah, you could like go on to a local court and pick up basketball, but you're not really like connecting with them. You're just playing basketball. But
Yeah.
pickleball, all of a sudden, you're going to play, and then when you gotta get off the court and wait for another one, you're talking to 20 people. It's just wild.
It is, isn't it? And I think the length of the game, O'Connor's, is part of that reason, because you're in, you're out. In
Hmm.
and depending on the score, I mean, I've had games, I don't hate, I hate to admit, but I've had games that lasted 5 minutes, 11-0 against. So
Right.
those games don't take long. If you're into the wrong game, all of a sudden it's over before it begins. And I think that's part of it. I think the chance to get in, mix it up with some people perhaps you've never met, have a fun game, get out, talk, get to know each other. It's terrific. So all
Yeah.
that said, how did you start this game? Who was the person, or who got you involved? Do you remember the very first time someone said to you, you should try pickleball? I'd love to hear that part of your story.
I know at first my friends started playing it, and so I gave it a try for like 5 minutes with my dad. And then I guess my dad ended up liking it because he decided to get some paddles. And then we started playing, and this was back in 2020, so I've been playing for 6 years now. That was back in 2020 during COVID, And so pickleball was, you could only play sports with your immediate family. And my family didn't want to play basketball or tennis or anything else. So became pickleball. So that's what we were playing for quite a while. And it was just us over and over again. And if I'm being completely honest, I did not enjoy it because it was super repetitive. It got a little bit too easy, a little bit too uncompetitive, right? So I was lacking like it was lacking that sport aspect to it. It just became a recreational, game, you know.
Right, right. Well, I think COVID was interesting because I think a lot of us pickleball fans and players, and we're so passionate about the game today. But I think COVID was actually good for the game, for the sport. I mean, it started, as you're well
Totally.
aware.
Everyone started playing during COVID.
That's right. Yeah, and it just kind of exploded from there. A sport that started back in 1965, sort of, just out south of where you are, down in Washington State, and yeah, and here we are today. But I think it was sort of just kind of bumping along, bumping along, bumping along, and then all of a sudden COVID came along. But do you remember beating your dad for the first time? Do you remember that moment?
Not at all. I mean, I think from the very beginning, like we were roughly the same level, actually. Like, because obviously I had the tennis background a little bit, so I could hit the ball. It wasn't like I was completely missing, so I wasn't bad.
But 6 years ago, you're 10 years old at this point. To put it in
Yeah,
perspective for those listening, yeah, we gotta realize there's a 10-year-old playing against his dad, and again, the beauty of the game, there it is, you just said it yourself. It's, to get out there and be able to, if you will, compete with your dad, to be out there and play a game that he's enjoying, you're enjoying, a little bit anyway. You weren't a fan of it, but you got into it, which is great. So when did the switch kind of flip? I mean, you started off, you weren't a huge fan, but what was the moment when you said, "Okay, this is something I really think I can get into"?
I love this part. Okay, so again, I'm just playing with family, but this time it's like what 2022 later on when we're allowed to play with friends. So I'm out with some friends and family, friends and family, family friends, and these two um elderly people, they're above 50, invite me and my dad to play. And I'm thinking, sure, why not? This would be an easy game. So I go over, we play a game, and the score ends up 11-1 in their favor.
I was gonna say, not didn't go your way. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we played again, 11-2, not in our
Uh-oh.
favor.
Uh-oh.
And man, I was not happy.
You're fired up. Now you're fired up. Now that competitive basketball side of you starting to surface, you're like, "Okay, okay, I've had enough of this."
You can actually get good at this sport.
Yeah,
So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I started playing a lot more, playing other people, not just my immediate family,
sure.
and slowly got better and better. I think 2020, end of 2022, I played my first tournament, um, a 3-5, and we ended up winning gold there with my dad.
Wow, nice.
And so honestly, just after those two events, I was just playing a lot, a lot. Like
Maconnor, did you start to see the nuance of the game at that point? I mean, you're so young today, but to go back even to 2022, I mean, we shave a couple more years off your young life, but were you beginning to understand that this wasn't just hitting a ball over a net, that there was more to the game? And I'm talking third shot drops and strategy and setting up the lanes and, everything that is pickleball and the reason that we love it so much. But were you recognizing that in the moment, or was it you just sort of laser focused on getting better and winning? Or were you already starting to break the game down and think about the strategy behind the game itself?
I think even before our first 3-5 tournament, like I remember in our first 3-5 tournament, the finals, most of the game was played, or like everyone was really trying to get to the net. Like that was all four players' game, which in 3-5 is actually pretty surprising, if I'm going to be honest. So yeah, even before that tournament, I'm watching Ben Johns, Colin Johns, Thomas Wilson, Vivian David, all these guys who used to play a long time ago. I'm watching them, and So yeah, just exactly what you said. I was obviously not the best. I hadn't mastered it, and I haven't yet. But I was trying to drop more than I drive. I was honestly that was the main focus. I was trying to dink more, and I tried to keep my impatience at bay. But I was trying, wasn't the best at it, but it's the effort that counts.
Absolutely. Well, the fact that you were kind of recognizing that, I think at that age, Maconnor, is just a tribute to the way you're thinking, and that's going to continue to serve you well, beyond today and into the future for sure. Because I think it's a game that once you appreciate that and you understand the nuance of the game and the intention of the game, and you're able to bring all those shots into your game plan. It's a totally different game. I talk a lot. I play at a social level. My duper right now, I guess, is sitting at about a 3.7, give or take. It's not particularly accurate because I don't do a lot of tournament play, but that's kind of where I fit into the game. And I just love social play. I've got a couple of groups I play with regularly each week, and then we've got some private games that have kind of developed from that. But one of the things that I just love about the game is the fact that it is a strategy game, and it's a game that if you really take your time with it, there's a lot of thinking out there, and a lot of planning, and nothing feels better than setting up a shot, having a plan going into a game, having a bit of strategy against the other side of the net and enjoying the outcome of that. So yeah, that's really terrific. So you're going along. When does the whole concept of potentially turning pro start to become a conversation, maybe between you and your family, your dad, your mom, whoever else might be involved in all of that? And tell me about that process, because I don't understand that. And I don't think people listening perhaps to the podcast would understand the steps that someone like you needs to take and your family needs to take in order to get you from, I'm playing at a pretty competitive level, I'm doing some local tournaments, regional tournaments. I mean, 2025 was a big year for you, a huge year, right? You win singles, gold, Canadian Nationals. I assume that was the moment.
You did your research.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But is that the moment? Is that the moment that it kind of the light switch said, okay, let's go?
No, not 100%. That nationals was a little bit more of a okay, I can do this. But before that, I think it was in June ish. We played PPA San Clemente, which is actually happening right now. Funny enough, so maybe even before June, we decided to play a PPA, and before that, you don't just decide to all of a sudden play a PPA because you have to fly there, you have to plan all these things. And if you're going there just to have fun, then it really makes no sense. I mean, that's obviously a big part of it. Like I want to go have fun, but this time I wanna travel to play, and I think that's one of the bigger differences with between wanting to play pro and just play for fun. Because I could have stayed here and just played the local tournaments, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I decided to travel for that, to invest time, invest money for that, and I think that was definitely where the times began to shift of okay, I'm gonna take this farther. And then nationals was I can take this farther.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So the idea of doing it, the idea of actually having done it now. So the two of those kind of combine and it's like now I go. So what happens at that point? Walk me through that process. I mean, how do you technically become a pickleball pro as a Canadian? How does that work? How do you do that?
This one's a tough one. This one's really tough because every person has a different definition of what a pro is, what a pro player is. Um, and being completely honest, I myself, by my definition, am not a pro. Um, and I can explain that in greater detail if you want, but
Yes, I'd love you to, because I think that those of us on the outside looking in, and if we go to Chat GPT and we go to the Google, I do that on purpose to bug the kids, the Google, I think you're being described to us as a pro pickleball player in Canada, but you see it otherwise, which is interesting.
I see it very otherwise because I'm going to throw out a few definitions on the table right now. Is um, you join a professional league, like CNPL.
Right.
CNPL is a great league. I think we have one of the best levels. We have the best levels in Canada. I'm not even saying maybe. We have the best level in Canada.
Right, bar none.
Some people define it as that. Some people define it as you have professional tour points. So like you have a few PPA points, you have a few APP points. Some define it as you win a professional main draw match or a professional qualifier match. Right? Actually, Anna Lee Waters said that. She said if you win a qualifier match, you're considered pro. And I find that interesting because if we have all those definitions, then honestly, a lot of people are professional, which I find quite scary. So my definition is very, very limiting. But it's if you can make pickleball your career, like you'll financially support yourself through pickleball, and more of like bonuses and not just coaching. I mean, coaching is a big part of being financially stable for a lot of pros who are not Anna Lee Waters.
Right, right.
But you can't just coach and call yourself a pro. You also have to compete, right? And also earn like from winnings, sponsorships, and at that higher level. So my definition would be just to be supporting yourself independently, financially, and the rest, right? And I think that's I don't there's no right or wrong to this definition, right? Because who am I to say what is right or wrong? But that's my personal opinion, and I'm gonna stick by it.
I love it. I love it. It's never been explained to me. It's never been explained to me that clearly, and I get it. So the reality of what you're saying, to summarize, is you could be considered a pickleball pro in Canada or perhaps beyond by a number of
Right?
metrics. There's not just
Correct.
one way to say
Really?
I'm declaring myself a pro and therefore I'm a pro. So interesting.
Exactly.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, that's, I think the people listening, Mackonner, are going to find that very fascinating because it's a really interesting perception of what's happened to you on a very personal level. And
Yeah.
and I love the way you've defined that. So yeah. And is that the goal? Is that fair? Tell me about where you are with school today, and what's plan B for you? And or let me ask that a different way. Is plan A to be a pickleball player that can be financially secure? And if so, what's plan B? Where are you with all of that today?
Right. It's kind of, I wouldn't say that it's like a plan A, plan B.
Okay.
It's like a plan A B.
All right.
um,
A combo. Right.
so
I like
I'm
it.
not. Yeah, I know a couple players who are not really in school anymore. Like they're kind of in school, but not really.
Mhm.
So they're really like going full pickleball.
Right.
Right. That's they're just going. They're committing, and I think that has its advantages. But I'm still I'm still full-time school, and I plan to finish, and it gets a little this story gets a little bit more complicated, so I'll keep it simple. Um, I'm gonna take 3 years to finish my school, so that will give me a lot more time to train, practice, get better. And I'm not gonna say 3 years is the hard stop, but 3 years is like the border of
Mhm.
I might continue school after, right? But I'm gonna take pickleball as far as I can, and maybe even
Good.
past the 3 years.
Good. That's
Who
good to
knows,
hear.
right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I don't want to commit to pickleball, get really good at it, and then get injured. Like I don't know, like bust my ACL or something, right? And then I'm out for a year or two. Like to me, that does not sit well. So I want to continue my education while at the same time playing as much pickleball as possible. So it really like for every junior I know, it's a really big juggling act, especially sorry, I should clarify that I'm homeschooled right now,
Oh, great.
so it's a
Perfect.
little
Love
bit
that.
easier.
Yeah.
Um, because if I was in school, I know a few people who still are, and it's really tough.
It's a grind. It's a
It's
grind.
really
Yeah.
tough to make it out to tournaments, be training while still having school is. I respect
Right.
the people who do that. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's a balancing act, isn't it? I mean, time management becomes essential on so many levels for that kind of a lifestyle for sure. So if we park pickleball for a moment, let's just push it over here off camera. Um, what's career path? What's it looking like? What do let's assume that pickleball ends up just not being something that you do for the rest of your life, or you end up getting where you hope to get. I mean, I hate to be negative about that, but let's just make an assumption. What are you hoping to do with your career? You got your eye on something?
not completely. But gonna go to college. I don't really know college, university. I don't really know which ones to go to yet or what to take. Um, I mean, I think I think a huge possibility actually is college pickleball. Like in America, you see so much more. Um, you see so much more colleges, universities getting into pickleball. Like you have I think it's the APP Collegiate League or the MLP Collegiate League. You see these guys. I mean, they're all in college and they're all playing pickleball, whether it be under scholarships or not. But I think that's 100% a possibility, even after 3 years. Um, Coaching's another possibility. I know there's like a great need for coaches, at least from where I'm from, and my guess is other places as well,
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah.
So I think there's so many options on the table, not just going to university and like pursuing that as well. I mean, I can go to university and play pickleball
I love it.
at the
Yeah.
collegiate league and do so many things there too, right? So
Well, the beauty of being your age, Mackonner, is that in and of itself, it's just the fact that you're not under any pressure to make those decisions. And I'll tell you, as a parent of two boys, one went through to become a lawyer, went through all the processes, took all the steps, wrote the Ontario bar, passed the bar, and then decided he didn't want to be a lawyer. So he's really
wow,
loving what he's doing. Yeah, he's working up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, which is about as far north in Ontario as you can go before you hit the icebergs, and loving his life. And we're flying up to see him in a couple of days and celebrate his 28th birthday. No,
wow,
29th. He's 28 now. Yeah, so he had a career change, and my youngest went to U Ottawa to be in sports. He wanted to be in physiotherapy and kinesiology. Did 5 years there, and then decided to go to teachers college. And he's finishing up his master's now, and he'll be in a classroom in September. So, as a parent looking at it, when I look at your age and I think about my own boys who are making shifts and changes in their career
mhm,
paths in their 20s, in their early to mid 20s, there's no rush, and so I think it's great that you're taking your time. I actually love your answer. I love that you don't have, okay, if this doesn't work, I'm absolutely doing that. I think it's great that you're looking at
yeah.
all those options. Yeah. So walk me
Okay.
through a typical week for you. What's a week in your life looking like right now? You're homeschooled, you're pursuing this pickleball thing, whatever that is. And what's a week look like for you?
So my pickleball is built around my school. Um, so if I have pickleball, then oh sorry, other way around. My school is built around my pickleball. Okay, so let's say I have like a session at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'm just gonna work earlier and afterwards, before and after. Simple as that. So in that way, that's how I manage school and pickleball. Um, but a regular week would look more like I'll give you a little bit more structure here. So it's gonna be at least 3 times drilling every week, right? So we've got um, let's say Tuesdays and Friday mornings drilling, and then another one random. Um, and then we got Thursdays is my in-person school. So I'll have school once a week. Um, and it'll be a full day of school, which would be 8 to 3. So but it's just one day, and so it's not a huge deal. So that takes about a little time there. And then, like I said, another drilling session here and there, and then we got games with whoever wants to play, preferably the higher level the better. But I'm good to just have fun as well, right? Just pop by a
Right.
local park and just hit some balls. That's completely fine. I mean, that's all pickleball is about. And then I've got some cross training with like some plyometrics, which is also really good. You try and stay healthy on and off the court. So doing plyometrics with a trainer on Tuesdays, and also working on it myself 2 other times a week. So that'd be 3 times a week.
Right. Oh, that's great. How important is nutrition and sleep to you right now as an athlete? As you know, and again, I'm careful with the word pro athlete, but let's just say advanced athlete in a sport of pickleball. Do you focus a lot at this point? I mean, again, your age is playing to your credit. You hit my age, you got to pay more attention to that sort of thing. But are you focusing on nutrition and sleep as part of your foundation for being successful in pickleball?
I think I totally am, because right now I've got 2 guys on my team who are helping me, and they're both doctors. One of them is actually a naturopathic doctor, so he's big on nutrition. He's big on sleep. So I've adopted a newer sleep schedule. I used to sleep from 12 a.m. to 10 a.m. That was my old sleep schedule, and it had to change when I met them. So it's now 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Okay. Well, I've got good
So
news for you. You're a perfectly normal teenager. That first sleep schedule, there's nothing wrong with you. You're absolutely perfectly normal. So
that's
there
what
you
I'm
go.
saying.
Yeah. Well, I love the naturopath. I've worked with one for 5 years, both my wife and I, and we
Yep.
believe 100% in what they do and what they preach. And so good on you. That's great. So it's
Yeah.
important. You're focusing on that, which is good.
And then he's at the same time building nutrition plans, all of that. So trying to stay out healthy off the court, which is, I think,
Yeah.
important in the long run. I think right now I might not feel it as much, but definitely my body can't, with the amount that I'm playing, my body will definitely take a toll
Yeah.
somewhere along these years. And I think keeping it healthy will will just guard myself against that. So I think it's super
Yeah.
important.
Well, that's the physical side, which is great and certainly important. How do you manage the mental side of the game? Do you struggle with that? I mean, are you the kind of player, Mackonner, that struggles mentally, or do you just find a way to work through the bad moments? Because I had a couple games this week where, my problem is inconsistency, and it probably doesn't exist at your level. At least, your bandwidth of inconsistency, I would assume, is much narrower than mine. But I struggle mentally. When I get down on myself, when I'm having a bad morning, boy, it's a bad day, and I just don't have that switch to be able to say, let it go and pick up, yeah. So I'm curious, how do you manage the mental side of the game, and how important do you think that is in being successful at the level that you play at?
I think it's the most important thing on the court. I mean, I think it's the most important thing paired with skills. I mean, let's look at Ben Johns. He is the best right now because of his mental. He's not the most skilled player in the world. His two-hand backhand dink is not phenomenal, right? But what makes him the best is just in that tough moment, it's up here. Like he knows, like, I can win this game. He knows he goes into every game knowing that he can win. And then their opponents at the same time come into that game going, how do I beat Ben Johns? How do I beat Ben Johns? Can I beat Ben Johns? Right? So up here it's super important that that you have that mental side. And I think I mentioned I have 2 people on my team, and I think we're working really greatly on that. Um, I think one really important thing um, about I think one really important thing that they mentioned was, and I think you mentioned as well, is people fear the unknown, right? So on the court, you don't want to be thinking of, oh, am I going to win this or not, right? Or how is my partner going to play? Um, how are my opponents going to play? What's going to happen in this next point? You don't want to think of the things that you don't know. Because that just adds unneeded pressure, unneeded stress, and you're just gonna get tight and play worse. That's just how it's gonna work. So for me, what I've been told is to think of the things that you do know, and for me, that really is that whether I win or lose, that's God's plan. Um, I think I just gotta lift that up to Him and play my best out there. But the results and the outcome come from Him, and there's nothing I can do about that. I can play my best, so that's something I am sure of, right? I go onto the court, and I'm trying my best to win. Of course, like I don't want to lose. That's not in my nature. But I am prepared, not prepared. If I do lose, I know that is part of His plan, right? So another thing is what else do I know? I know that I've been training a lot for this, right? I can I can go back to how much I've been training on and off the court, right? Mentally. I'm working on a book called Complete Learn Honor, right? It's a mental game. It's a tennis book, but it translates very well to pickleball, right? So all these are things that I'm sure of and things that I can use. So I think that was one of a very big thing that a lot of people have told me because I've talked to professional football players, professional golf players, professional field hockey players.
Right.
And the one thing all of them tell me across the board is if you don't got it in your mental, it's not gonna work. All of
I
them
love
say
that.
that,
Yeah,
which
I
is
love that
crazy because
perspective.
it's across different sports, and for them, that's the most important thing at the highest level of their sports. So I think it's super important in that way.
Yeah, I love that you're able to extract that already and to see that. I remember golf was kind of my game. If I had a game of Connor, it might have been golf. I might have had a hope in golf at one point. That ship has sailed. But I remember Jack Nicklaus, a name you may or may not know, but Jack was, and still is a record holder for, number of major tournaments won ever. And Jack was quoted at one point about talking about being at the driving range prior to the tournament starting, walking up and down the range. And he said publicly, I never played against a full field because there were guys on the range that looked at me and just the way they looked at me, they had already conceded to me. Like they just knew I can't beat Jack Nicklaus. And I think Tiger Woods in golf went through a similar phase where guys were so intimidated by his talent and his determination and his mental capacity that, they gave up before they hit their first tee shot. And so I think it's kind of what you're saying here is, control what you can control, rely on the knowledge that you have. You've done this, 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 and this to prepare for that and just go with it. And whatever happens, happens. I love it. What great insight. Thank you. Because I think that's where a lot of people listening to the podcast might benefit in this podcast specifically is to understand that, maybe take that, and you can take that into a social setting. It doesn't need to be a competitive game, but if you're having a rough patch on a Tuesday morning, just, hey, I can control this. I can't control the other side of the net necessarily. So let's just get out there and have a good time. So I just love that. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Love all of that. Really terrific. Let's talk briefly about the CNPL. You were drafted. You're on the Vancouver Owls. Interesting team. Tell me a bit about that experience and how's that going and how much of your day, week, month is that taking up right now for you?
Um, it's not taking too much time because I mean my male partners is the male players on our team is Armanji Mamauji, Eugene Mack, and myself, and we all live in Greater Vancouver. So we're all playing together somewhat regularly, and I wouldn't call it a team practice because none of the girls are there. So I just count that as a regular play sesh. So it doesn't take too much of my time, but in terms of events, I think that's really big in terms of time because it's always on a weekend, and I'm really excited for this season. I think all the teams have great players, and I think we're all really closely matched this time. Um, and you mentioned how was my experience of being
Drafted.
drafted.
Yeah. What was that
Drafted.
like? Yeah. Yeah.
It was something because last year I tried out and I thought I played great, and I was a little bit bummed not to be drafted last year. Um, I but this year, when I saw that I was drafted, I was really excited because this was something I'd been working on. Right, last year I didn't, so next year I want to be right.
Yeah.
So when I got drafted to Vancouver Owls with people I know, which I really like. I mean, I know Armand, I know Eugene, I know Kim, I know Anna. These girls, I mean, all these guys, like I know them really well. So I was really excited, really pumped that I was drafted to this particular team and just the league in general, right? It put me a step forward into the pro scene, right?
Right. Of course. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think the league, and for those listening, CNPL, Canadian National Pickleball League, there's 8 teams. The league's growing. It's really gaining a lot of traction on social and beyond. And I think it's something that we need to pay more attention for. Again, it's a relatively new league. I believe it started in 2023. And I think, we now have ownership of all 8 teams. So, to make it onto that, it's not a big roster. I mean, we're only talking 8 teams across the entire country. So, I want to make that point on your behalf because getting drafted is great. Are you the youngest player in the CNPL? Do you hold that title at this point? You must be close,
I
if
am the
not.
youngest male player.
Okay,
There is
that's fair. Yeah,
Stevie. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Stevie's
right.
a great player. She's younger than me. Um, Props to her. She's a great player. But I take the award for youngest male player.
Good. Yeah, another notch in your pro belt, just to say. It's another thing you can talk about down the road. The great thing about history, Mackonner, is no one takes it away from you. Once you've done something, and been the first to do it. I was at one point the youngest male player in the Canadian National Pickleball League. I don't care if you live to be 150. No one will take that away from you. You held that record for whatever amount of time you did. So good on you. Yeah, I've had a chance to talk to Brett Shepley. Of course, he's involved, with a bunch of the league stuff. And I'm talking to Ricky of Toronto United. And I talked to the Kawamoto family as well, and Matthew. And of course, he's pretty legendary within the CNPL and within the league and within pickleball in Canada. What a great kid and what a great family. And an honor to have talked to he and his mom and 2 sisters. And so it's really, really amazing. So, well, listen, I'm mindful of the clock. I've already taken up more time than I thought I wanted to,
All
but the
good.
conversation is just so engaging. So I'm sorry to have done this to you, but
No, it's all
um,
good.
I appreciate that. As we wrap things up, where do you see the game going? It's interesting for me as a 59-year-old talking to you as a 16-year-old, and so inspired by your story and so taken by your passion. What are your hopes for pickleball? Not even just maybe here. I think, the explosion of pickleball coming out of Asia, I mean, it's phenomenal. I've talked to a guy, I think probably 2 months ago, Mackonner, who has predicted that the number one male and number one female player in the world will come out of Asia within the next 3 years. That's the prediction. And so it's interesting, as you mentioned, some of the names in, Ben and Annalie and some of the others. But what are your thoughts on all of that? Where do you see the game heading on a more global level? And are you optimistic about it?
I'm totally optimistic. I was just in Asia back in April, the beginning of April, late end of March, and man, people should see it there. It's crazy, especially in the Philippines, Vietnam. China's really getting into it. Where else? Malaysia. All these places. It's huge. They have, I mean, compared to the Canadian scene, we have what, 45 million people in this country, and the Philippines alone has like 300 something million,
I know.
right?
It's
So
an ad.
put it into the numbers game. Um,
Yeah.
but I think another big thing is their courts.
Okay.
I know courts at least in Vancouver. I'm not sure about where you are, but the lack of courts is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Lack of public and private courts
Hmm.
in Vietnam, at least, and in the Philippines, from what I know. In Vietnam, there's like a court everywhere. Like I was just walking down the street to get to a
Yeah.
restaurant, and I just all of a sudden hear book, book, book. And I'm like, what on earth? Am I imagining things? Am I playing too
Yeah.
much that all of I'm hearing it
It's in my
now?
head.
And then I turn to the right and I see four
Yeah.
courts.
Wow.
And they're nice courts. Like they're outside, but they have like a retractable roof and everything. In the Philippines, same thing. This was just, and I was there 3 years ago, 3 years ago, and I used to say, yeah, I play pickleball, and then people would go, sorry, what's that? And now now I went this March, and man, I play pickleball. Oh, I play too. Or like, you open the replay app, which is like just an app to find courts, and there's just courts everywhere. There's like everywhere, and they're always full as well. So I think I see so much growth in Asia. It's going to be huge, and that prediction of in 3 years the top woman and top male would be the number one. I would give it a little bit more than 3 years. A little bit more than 3 years. But I think the players there are so good right now already. Their training is so much more intense than what we have in North America. And I think there's so much more support in the Asia. They've got so many more sponsorships. Like I met up with a bunch of juniors in Vietnam, and all of these guys, their gear or being their gears being sponsored, their trains being sponsored, all this stuff. Like they're being supported so much, right? And I think that will help with the growth of the sport even more because people people are investing in these players, not just juniors, right? These juniors, to be honest, they just play pickleball now. I mean, obviously school, but their tournament fees are paid for, their training is paid for, all these stuff, right? So they're bound to become really good eventually because there's just so much more support there.
Yeah, the infrastructure's there, the culture's there. It's really starting to bubble up, and there's a lot of attention, a lot of eyes. Vietnam, I'm glad you mentioned that because this gentleman had just been to Vietnam and echoed exactly what you're saying. The quality of play, the quality of facilities, the quantity of facilities, Mackonner, are just phenomenal. He came back, he was just gobsmacked, and he's out of the UK. He's a fellow I met through the podcast who's got a Facebook group page called Senior Pickleball Tips. So Patty has got nearly 140 some thousand people that follow him on the Facebook group, but he's talking about the explosion specifically in Vietnam and just how phenomenal it is. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. And I think you've made a great point there. The more support that the players are getting, the evolution of that game and the speed at which it evolves is going to be really something. So, well, listen, final question. Who's your pickleball hero today? Who do you look up to? Who do you think is somebody that you'd like to model yourself after? I mean, at 16, you must have some role models. You must have people that you look to. I mean, you're inspiring me today. You're going to inspire a lot of people that listen to this podcast, and you should be really proud of all you've done. But who is it in your books that you look up to and somebody that you really held, perhaps in high regard in the game of pickleball?
I'd say number one is I give credit to my parents, and then I mentioned two people on my team, um, Dr. Sean and Dr. Jeff. I think they've helped me so much, and I think I look up to them in their support and as well as their professionalism and their mental. They're like Dr. Sean used to be a professional football player, and they and he just his mental game, right? It's pretty tough out there, and just another that like their support their support for me has been huge. Like that's another thing I look up to them is their support, how they're giving back to.
Right. They believe in you. They see something here. They want to be part of it. And that's who reached out to me was Dr. Sean. He got email out of the blue and asked me if I would, and boy, was I ever, thrilled. I mean, that was the best email I've had in a month. Well, probably in 2 months. It was, yeah, to wake up to an email like that and then to figure out who you are and then combine the two. Yeah, it was just a great morning. Best cup of coffee I've had in a long time. So I owe him a debt of thanks for connecting the two of us today. So yeah, I love your reflection. Well, listen, you're an inspiring young man. As a parent to two boys, Mackonner, I got to tell you, your parents must be so proud of you. and you carry yourself in such a way that is well beyond your years. And I know I'm not the first guy to tell you this, and I can tell you I won't be the last to tell you this. So congratulations. You're just a great story. And I am so honored and touched that you were willing to give me a chance to share a bit of this. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit this afternoon. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Good luck with everything you've got going on. And one final favor, I'd just kind of like to loosely stay in touch with you and your team as this progresses over the next little while. And if you'd be so generous as, maybe down the road when things develop a bit more, maybe you've defined your direction a little bit more, and I'm sure you'll have lots of insight into how that's developing. I'd love a chance to maybe connect, even if it's for a shorter bit of time, but maybe a catch-up conversation at some point on the podcast would be appreciated. So thank you again for being here.
I love that.